I say. It's coming up to 11:58. You're listening to James O'Brien on LBC. Let's squeeze in Louise, who's in Wakefield. Louise, what would you like to say?
Hi, yes. Hello. I'm one of the chairs of one of the national groups, grassroots groups. And obviously there are, 150 of these groups up and down the country. We've got hundreds of thousands of campaigners and supporters. And this really isn't... doesn't need to be that big a deal. What's happening at Millbank is up to them to do. We support what People's Vote have been doing and the work they're doing at Westminster. We support what the March for Change did, calling for an overtly Remain campaign. We support everything that's happening in the Remain movement. And this is just symbolic of the fact that the passion we have for the pro-EU movement is so much that everyone's vying to control it, which is great.
You're very good.
That.
We haven't met before. I don't think our paths have crossed.
No, we've not.
I don't know if you're in the business of trying to put a gloss on difficult situations.
Oh, God, no.
No, I was about to say, I suspect you're not. You're just focusing on the actual bigger issue here, rather than perhaps a clash of I was going to say egos, but let's not even go that far. Let's just say a clash. Rather than focusing on a clash of key personnel who should be pursuing the same goal, Louise is on the line to remind us about the goal.
Yeah, and we've got hundreds of campaigners and supporters who, if they follow all this and start to get worried about what's happening here, what's the point? We're out every single day on the streets of, well, we're in South and West Yorkshire, but up and down the country, we are out speaking to people, and we don't need to be distracted by this. I think the political bubble will obsess about it until tea time, but hopefully you're probably right. Things will move on, and if they move in the direction that everybody should want, which is edging ever closer to that confirmatory vote, then this will all be looked back on as a storm in a proverbial teacup. Just briefly, Louise, because you're right in the middle of this. Do you recognise what Roland Rudd described as desirable in the context, because I do, oddly, a female who's not from London leading the campaign for a second vote, and obviously someone with a degree of profile as well. Would you welcome that? Would that make your job easier or not? It would probably make the job easier, yes. Yeah. Rebalancing generally away from London, but that's not to say that. It's not to put the criticism on. There's room for a People's Vote campaign and what's happening at Westminster. There's room for an overtly Remain campaign, and that's what we've been doing. Yes, there's room for moving that away from the slightly male-dominated London-centric campaign, but that's not to criticise that. I'm not trying to not take sides so much.
I hear you. What you're saying is...
There's so much going on that's positive.
Focus on that.
Make negative, and Brexit is so painful and so hard for so many of us. Why are we yet again focusing on all the negative and the spatting? And it's fantastic. I totally support what Roland Rudd is doing in rebalancing the campaign and wanting to involve the grassroots. That's fantastic. But equally, the People's Vote and the Alistair Campbell has also done a fantastic job. Why does it have to be an either-or? We support everything from the grassroots. We don't want to take sides, and we support what's going forward. We'd like to be involved in whatever the campaign is moving forward. But, let's be real.
In charge.
To Pontefract next week. That's very sweet. But we're next week out in Pontefract, and we regularly go out there, and people, when they speak to us there, they just want to... They will raise the issues very genuinely and say, well, no, we want to leave because of... And they will raise any number of the issues that we can say very gently, did you realise, for example, that that's not the fault that happens?
Yes.
And people often don't take to their high ground, and they say, really, is that not the case? And sometimes it's just about having those conversations. And that's what our volunteers are doing every single day. And I think we're just distracting here, and we're losing the focus by obsessing about what might or might not be
it's a perfect conclusion to this little interlude. Actually, we won't talk about it anymore on the programme. I think we've heard both sides of the argument, but in many ways we've heard probably the most important contribution. I don't want to patronise you, but this idea, why can't we all just get along, actually gets filed under bigger picture, doesn't it? There is nothing more important than trying to stop this ludicrous Brexit. Therefore, everything else is gravy.
Absolutely, but that summarises why we want to remain as well. It cuts across everything. Why are we having divisions? Why are we focusing on the bad people or trying to blame people and cause divisions and us and them? We want to be part of a big
blinking journalists, Louise. Blinking journalists, ruining everything. In the unlikely event that your volunteers and activists know who I am, would you pass on my very best wishes and gratitude for their hard work? Many thanks. I didn't want to hear that. It's like a humble brag. Thank you, Louise.